I'm Brittany Lewis with Forbes Breaking News. Senator Jon Tester spoke in support of the Honoring Our PACT Act on the Senate floor Wednesday. The bipartisan legislation would help veterans who were exposed to toxic substances get access to health care. Tester described the legislation as putting, quote, this nation on the right track to addressing decades of inaction and failure by our government, by us, to pay for the cost of war. Listen in for the Montana lawmaker's explanation.
The Senate is on the verge of honoring our commitment to our country's toxic exposed veterans and their families through the Sergeant First Class Heath Robinson Honoring Our PACT Act. Look, generation after generation of veterans have been exposed to toxic substances during their time in service, dating all the way back to World War I and every conflict since then. And they've returned only to face yet another battle here at home when they seek care and benefits because of the impact of toxic exposure on their lives. And in worst case scenarios, folks are paying the price with their lives. Veterans and heroes like Sergeant First Class Robinson, for whom this bill is named after. Look, we've made some incredible advances as a country over our history when it comes to taking care of our servicemen, both in theater and after they get back home. The survival on the battlefield now compared to 50 years ago has been improved amazingly. Prosthetics, we've done some amazing work with prosthetics for the folks who have come back that are missing limbs. We've been working hard on mental health. We're not where we need to be, but we're making some advances. We've got more stuff to do, particularly in the area of transition and implementation of alternate forms of mental health care. But the fact is that toxic exposure, we've never done a good job. This bill will put the VA and put this nation on the right track to addressing decades of inaction and failure by our government, by us, to pay for the cost of war. So what does it do? It expands eligibility for VA health care to more than 3.5 million combat veterans exposed to burn pits since 9/11. Supporting our post-9/11 and Vietnam-era veterans by removing the burden of proof for 23 presumptive conditions caused by toxic exposure, from cancers to lung diseases. It establishes a framework for the establishment of future presumptions of service connection related to toxic exposure. So why is this important? Well, you know how the Senate works. Oftentimes it takes a long time to get much done, and it has taken an act of Congress, literally an act of Congress, to get these presumptives approved in the past. Now the VA is going to have a structure to which they can follow the science and get these toxic exposures covered, the ones that are going to happen in the future. And unfortunately, I'm afraid that they will happen in the future, so this structure is important. This bill also gives the VA the tools it needs to bolster its workforce, to establish more healthcare facilities, to improve claims processing, which will better meet the immediate and future needs of every veteran that the VA serves. I've talked about the costs. The costs are $287 billion over 10, significant, very significant, but it is a cost of war. Keep in mind that this substitute, because of the work that the staffs have done in a bipartisan way, is $50 billion less than the House-passed toxic exposure bill. So we've done our best to make sure that this bill meets the needs of our veterans and also meets the needs of our taxpayers. This is the right thing to do, and it's the right thing to get done today. Because right now, our veterans are paying the cost. They're the only ones paying the cost. And they cannot afford to wait any longer. Mr. Chairman, I yield the floor.